Hi everybody, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today, and in this session we'll be exploring flexible meetings with Crestron and Microsoft Teams. So today I'm joined by Charlie James, Business Development Director for EMEA, Graham Walsh, Enterprise UC Technical Director for EMEA, and Independent Consultant Vince Haines. Welcome everybody. Reducing complexity is of course a top priority for many IT leaders, and today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Teams in the meeting room and how Crestron's latest Flex MX solution is helping to solve one of those big collaboration kind of challenges. So to get started, I just thought, Charlie, it'd be a great place to do a quick round of introduction. Would you like to start?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Rob. So yes, Charlie James, Business Development Director at Crestron for EMEA. I've joined Crestron to drive the Enterprise UC business. And what we mean by that is basically all of our Teams certified devices, our meeting room devices.
Great stuff. Thanks, Charlie. And Graham?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So Graham Walsh, I'm the Enterprise UC Technical Director for EMEA, so working alongside Charlie and looking after all the difficult questions that Charlie can't answer.
Correct.
Great stuff. And Vince?
Good afternoon, I'm Vince Haines. I'm an independent video consultant working across a number of different enterprises, and I put all the difficult technical questions towards Graham, which he then passes down to Charlie.
Great stuff. So we've got a great dynamic on the call today. So to kick off, first discussion point really would be to set the scene. Who are Crestron? So Charlie, would you like to take that one, please?
Yeah, delighted. Yeah, so who are Crestron? So Crestron themselves have had 40 years in what we call the AV industry. But we wouldn't really define ourselves as an AV company. We talk about ourselves being into the intelligent building company. We're an IT, an IoT enablement company, a smart collaboration company. So we're about the smart building. And as I said, we're here, Graham and I, to drive this Enterprise UC business, which is about 2 years old. So not quite incubation anymore, but a very exciting and very fast growing part of the business. Crestron themselves, we are a global organization. We're about 6,000 employees working in just over 90 countries. But with all that scale, we are still a private family-owned business. And what's nice about that, it makes us really agile when we look at our innovation and our investments into R&D. So that's Crestron in a nutshell, Rob.
Great stuff. Thanks. And Charlie, in terms of Crestron and working with Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft have been hugely successful with their latest Microsoft Teams collaboration platform. Could you set the scene in terms of how and why they've been so successful in the meeting space?
Yeah, sure. When you think about the journey that Microsoft has actually taken themselves from the days of Lync to the days of Skype for Business, where Microsoft became more established in the meeting room space. And it was easier to describe when I worked in the days of Lync, somebody would say, well, explain to me what was that? When it came to Skype for Business, I could then say, well, it's just like Skype, but for business. And people would say, yeah, we get that. We really understand that. The move to Teams just saw another massive shift into the capability. It was a different architecture without getting techie on this. But what that meant was that the innovation, the enhancements were just, and they still do, they happened so quickly that you've got a very reliable platform, a nice common user interface. And I think that's the thing about meetings, Rob. It used to be a bit scary. How did you book it? How did you arrange it? And generally video would end up being an expensive investment hanging on the wall, never getting used. I think what Microsoft have done with Teams has brought meetings to the masses. And we've seen massive growth just over in the last few weeks. Graham and I were talking just earlier this morning, and it was something like up 70%, something like 75 million active users. These are incredible statistics. But yeah, I think it's the fact that it's user-friendly. It's a common interface. And of course, that's what we achieve with the meeting room portfolio that we've created. Graham, anything else?
No, I think you're right there, Charlie. Microsoft have made it so easy for users to adopt, and I think in the past couple of months it's been an explosion. And when people go to meeting rooms, they expect to be able to use the technology so easily. Walk in, press a button or click a button to join your meeting. We've been striving to get there for years. We've all come from video backgrounds, and I think we're here. Video has arrived.
Rob, just to add to that, I think that the end user experience is, of course, very, very important, but it's the days of video conferencing rooms being for executives only on the 20th floor of a building, those days are disappearing. These are collaboration tools that any user, anyone throughout the organization should have access to. They shouldn't be just for executives. And the problems I've seen in the past are with one vendor has one standard for a protocol, another vendor has a different standard. The two systems wouldn't talk to each other. Teams takes that problem away. If you don't have Teams installed on your machine, there's web-based clients available. The accessibility of the tools just exploded, as Graham and Charles have said. It's just the sheer number of people that can access that technology now versus queuing up for that meeting room in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I heard last year something like 1% of meeting rooms was video enabled. But we're coming to 2020 and it's a completely different picture. So I imagine on the front line, Vince, you're quite a busy man.
Absolutely, yes. There has, over the recent months, yes, there has been an explosion. And I think, again, taking the simplified approach to the technology, the consistent user interface across the rooms, which is another important factor. You could, in the past, you could have had a control system from one vendor in one room and then a different control system in another room, and people just didn't know how to use it. Now we're taking that experience from an end user's laptop, taking it into a meeting room. It's so much easier to use, and the demand for these rooms is just growing and growing. It's great that people can run the meetings from their desktop as well, but having that experience in the meeting room, multiple screens, enhanced audio capabilities, enhanced sharing capabilities, really adds to that collaboration experience. Yeah,
absolutely. So adoption is obviously accelerating, but challenges do exist. They still remain. So, Charlie, what would you say those kind of this year's challenges are with video, with collaboration tools?
Well, I suppose when we, if you go back a few weeks before the lockdown, our customers were on different types of journeys. Their transformation to Teams. They had a modern workplace strategy. They may have had a digital transformation strategy. It had a name, for each one, but it was around meetings and it was around collaboration. So I think that it was driven. This is being driven. Our conversations. This is being driven by competitiveness. And if you go back a few years ago, it was about the environment, but it's very much about productivity and also having tools for engaging employees. There's a lot of conversation around, the different generations that work in one organization. And, the nature of business and the nature of work is absolutely changing. And so the challenge, to Vince's point, is getting the right tools, but not getting a mix of the right and wrong tools, which actually doesn't aid that efficiency and that engagement. So in their journey, our customers' journey is about interoperability. But it's also about native. It's about when you make a move from one technology, how you still maximize that investment in the platforms that you've already had, so that they are still relevant to the new technologies that you're facing. But I think that what has now changed is that we're now thinking about how we go back to work and how we maintain things like social distancing at work. The fact that the challenge now will be that the office won't be used at 100% capacity because you can't do distancing that way efficiently. So it's about how do I go back to work and how does my technology now support my workers who will stay at home and those that will return to work, and how do we manage that? So I think that's the challenge now that our customers are seeing, and I think that's the big conversations that we're having right now.
Graham, from your perspective, what are you seeing?
I think Charlie's right with I'm glad he's right because we work in the same team. But as we've all been fortunate enough to be able to carry on working from home as we are now, and we've got the tools, we have a device, whether it's an iPad or a laptop, and we can install software and join that, any party call or any vendor call. When we go back to the meeting room space, we need this functionality moving forward back in the office because, as Charlie said, the office may be half in use and the other half are working from home. How do we enable this? How do we work together? This may not be possible if you don't have the right technology in the meeting space. So that's what I think, going back and, planning your meeting rooms moving forward, you need to have this, environment that's, let's solve the challenge of what our UC strategy is, such as Microsoft Teams, and have that native room. And then how do we call our vendors, our suppliers, our customers? So again, have been, adopted the new digital technology. How do we call them as well? So we have a multi-purpose room. And I think, if you go over to Vince now, I think he's seen a lot of this from his point of view as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Graham's right there. And I think what another interesting point to add is the flexibility. So Charlie was talking about distancing, social distancing, and we now have to look at adapting those rooms to support that activity. The cameras and the audio support with the Crestron equipment allows us to do that. If we find we need to space people out quite a bit within the room, we can plug in additional microphones if we need to. If we find we're not getting quite the right experience with the camera coverage, we can put a different camera in there. The core technology remains the same. It's just we can change key peripherals around that to expand that user experience, to change it, to adapt to our ever-changing environment. And for me, and for the clients that I'm working with, that's a fantastic level of flexibility that we've not had before. It just hasn't existed.
So let's jump into Crestron's latest solution, the Flex MX, because this is I suppose the main part of this conversation is to really introduce what you've done to address these challenges in a Microsoft Teams environment, in the meeting space. So, Charlie, would you like to kick off? Do you want to give us a broad overview or the headlines in terms of what Crestron have just released?
Yeah, well, actually, what I'll do is we have a new member of the family, the MX150, and I'll let Graham talk about that. But let's talk about the family and where it fits in with that family. So our Teams devices, our meeting room devices, are known as Flex. And so we have a range of solutions that will really answer the requirements around room sizes. So two very easy to plug and play native MTR devices, right up to still certified devices, but are custom built so that where a customer has certain different requirements outside of a reference design, that is allowed. So that's the Teams devices that drive the Teams activations. There is a second part to that family, which is the management piece. So that is built in Azure in the IoT hub. That's known as our XIO cloud. And what that does is it allows our customer to be able to manage devices centrally, analyze devices centrally. So back to the point that Vince said about social distancing, we have the ability with our camera technology to count people in the room. So if we were to change a room from a 10-person room to a 5-person room, take out 5 of the seats, we're able to count the people in that room and send alerts if there are too many people in the room. So that's the portfolio. And then again, to meet that requirement, in comes the MX150. So Graham.
So yes, the exciting part of the Mercury X or MX150, people will notice it as our traditional conference phone or speakerphone that we've had. And what we've done is change the internals of the product and put some new clever technology in there. So it's again easy to deploy, easy to set up with a single network cable between the front of room and the center of room. So what it allows you to do is obviously have your native Microsoft Teams environment. So your MTR, your Microsoft Teams room. And that's all great. We can schedule a room, we send an invite, and we walk in and we press the join button. So for the end user, very, very simple. Just like on your desktop, you click a link and you join your meeting. But then it comes to interoperability. How do we talk to other people? And one thing Microsoft has done, or they announced back in November at Microsoft Ignite, actually where we showcased MX, where we gave a preview, is the ability to interop with, say, Zoom and WebEx. So Microsoft are working on those two vendors for what they call guest join access. and that will be coming out, fairly soon. But there's a whole host of vendors out there. There's not just those two. There's Google, BlueJeans, Pexa, Fuse, and lots of others. So how do you address that? And this is where Mercury MX or the MX 150 comes in, by just being able to plug in a single USB cable from the device to your laptop, what we call tethering, and it then moves the room peripherals over to your laptop. So again, going back to the social distancing, we don't have to huddle around the laptop to see everyone on the call. We can sit around the room, nicely spaced out, and then use the room camera and use the room acoustics and the room audio and the speakerphone from the Mercury, but then use the software on our laptop to drive the meeting. So it really brings us, room environment where it's not just a one-trick pony, a Microsoft Teams room. It's a Microsoft Teams room plus anything else. So it's the native environment plus BYOD, what we call bring your own device. So, or bring your own platform, whichever terminology you want to use. It just means now this room can be multi-purpose, and going back to the office, and we say, okay, you can go and use that meeting room, and then you can interrupt with anyone. You can talk to anyone by just having the software on your laptop, because you might have been using it from home. So you can carry on working like that, but again, be in your nice comfortable chair, sitting around the table, adhering to distancing rules.
Graham, what size room is it ideally designed for?
So it can be used in multiple sort of spaces, so even small, medium, and large. So the key functionality is in the Mercury by being able to bring this BYOD technology across. So in the small room, we provide a Crestron Hugley IQ camera, which can do what we say up to about 5 meters in distance. And everyone's got a different opinion of what a small room or a medium room or large room is, especially in the US, should we say, when it's everyone's got big real estate, and in London that's a huddle space. But again, with our partnership with Logitech, for example, you can add on bigger cameras. So again, you'll be able to cover even those large meeting rooms to have that, but also have the BYOD functionality.
Great. And Vince, what's your perspective of this product? I mean, does it solve those challenges that you're seeing out there on the front line?
Most definitely, yes. And a lot of those challenges are based around the rollout of different collaboration tools, as Graham mentioned. You do have a big push on Teams at the moment, as everybody knows, but there are people that are using legacy products out there, and being able to have one device in the room that somebody can come and connect with, regardless of what they're using, is a key differentiator, I believe. And it really helps in those areas where, for example, you might be dealing with a client that, or they're dealing with your client's dealing with a vendor that's using a different tool, so their invite comes through using their tool rather than Teams, and if there's no interop available, that they can use that native application on that device in that room, which is just something that's not been able to have been achieved before. So that's a great level of flexibility. The other point that Graham mentioned is that USB cable to connect to the device. That solves a big problem in itself. So many times you go into a room, the cables are strewn around everywhere. They're under the table. They've been removed. Somebody's stolen the HDMI cable to plug in somewhere else. This stops all of those problems. The cables are pretty much fixed to the device. They can't be removed. Nobody can take them and use them somewhere else. And that makes the expectation of a user coming into a room that much clearer, that much easier to use, rather than having to fight with the technology. Many surveys in the past have shown the first 5 to 15 minutes of a meeting with technology are getting to grips with the technology. It's taken that problem away. People walk in, hit the button, away they go, or they plug in the USB cable, use their tool, and within a matter of seconds or just a few minutes, they're up and running. They're doing their work, their collaboration, they're connecting as they should.
So from the user side, it truly is a plug and play device. And how about from the management side? Was it easy to set up, set a room up, for example?
The installation time is greatly reduced. I mean, Crestron have done a fantastic job in reducing the number of cables involved and the setup options for the device. There's special bracketry available to sit behind the screen if you want, and other options to mount under the table. But there's just a couple of cables required to get this up and running. And we've had rooms installed very recently on a client site. Just took a couple of hours to get up and running, which is fantastic. And that's including putting new screens up on the wall as well. So yes, really really easy install. The management side of things is fantastic as well. And what we're seeing is, satellite offices, smaller offices don't have dedicated IT resources on them anymore. So being able to get those metrics, understand what's happening, number of people that are using the room, number of calls, how people are using the technology, it is fantastic. And being able to manage it, any of that technology around the world from a single location, really helps bring that total cost of ownership down as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, isn't it, TCO? And, the appetite for video and collaboration tools is only on the increase. So an invaluable solution by the sounds of it. So Graham, for anyone looking to find out more about the Crestron Flex MX product, where should they go?
So we have a dedicated website, so crestron.com/MX, and that will take you to the particular landing page. But as Charlie says, it's part of our bigger family. So if you go to crestron.com/flex, you'll see our whole suite of products. So from our personal space right up to the large rooms. And again, our partnership with Logitech, again, simple landing page, crestron.com/Logitech. So we try and make it nice and simple so you can find information out and as well also use the product.
Perfect. And thanks to everyone for sharing their valuable insights today, and more information on the Flex MX product. It's been fantastic seeing you. And thanks to everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed today's session, please do give us a quick like or share on social media. It's always very much appreciated. But for now, thanks for watching.